A reading of St. John of Damascus on virtues and vices from Volume 2 of the Philokalia. Man is a twofold being comprising soul and body, and has two orders of senses and two corresponding orders of virtues. The soul has 5 senses and the body 5. The senses of the soul, which are also called the faculties, are intellect, reason, opinion, fantasy, and sense perception. The senses of the body are sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. The virtues which belong to these senses are twofold, and so too are the vices. Everyone should know how many virtues there are of the soul and how many of the body, and what kind of passions belong to the soul and what kind to the body. The virtues which we ascribe to the soul are primarily the 4 cardinal virtues: courage, moral judgment, self-restraint, and justice. These give birth to the other virtues of the soul: faith, hope, love, prayer, humility, gentleness, long-suffering, forbearance, kindness, freedom from anger, knowledge of God, cheerfulness, simplicity, calmness, sincerity, freedom from vanity, freedom from pride, absence of envy, honesty, freedom from avarice, compassion, mercifulness, generosity, fearlessness, freedom from dejection, deep compunction, modesty, reverence, desire for the blessings held in store, longing for the kingdom of God, and aspiration for divine sonship. Besides these, there are the bodily virtues, or rather the tools or instruments of virtue. When used with understanding, in accordance with God's will, and without the least hypocrisy or desire to win men's esteem, they make it possible to advance in humility and dispassion. They are self-control, fasting, hunger, thirst, staying awake, keeping all-night vigils, constant kneeling, not washing, the wearing of a single garment, eating dried food, eating slowly, drinking nothing but water, sleeping on the ground, poverty, total shedding of possessions, austerity, disregard of personal appearance, unselfishness, solitude, preserving stillness, not going out, enduring scarcity, being self-supporting, silence, working with your hands, and every kind of hardship and physical asceticism, with other similar practices. When the body is strong and disturbed by carnal passions, they are indispensable and extremely beneficial. When the body is weak, however, and with the help of God has overcome these passions, such practices are not as vital as the holy humility and thanksgiving, which suffices for everything. Something should also be said about the vices or the passions of the soul and the body. Passions of the soul are forgetfulness, laziness, and ignorance. When the soul's eye, the intellect, has been darkened by these 3, The soul is dominated by all the other passions. These are impiety, false teaching or every kind of heresy, blasphemy, wrath, anger, bitterness, irritability, inhumanity, rancor, backbiting, censoriousness, senseless dejection, fear, cowardice, quarrelsomeness, jealousy, envy, self-esteem, pride, hypocrisy, falsehood, unbelief, greed, love of material things, attachment to worldly concerns, listlessness, faint-heartedness, ingratitude, grumbling, vanity, conceit, pomposity, boastfulness, love of power, love of popularity, deceit, shamelessness, insensibility, flattery, treachery, pretense, indecision, assent to sins arising from the soul's passible aspect and dwelling on them continuously, wandering thoughts, self-love, the mother of all vices, avarice, the root of all evil, and finally, malice and guile. The passions of the body are gluttony, greed, overindulgence, drunkenness, eating in secret, general softness of living, unchastity, adultery, licentiousness, uncleanness, incest, pedastry, bestiality, impure desires, and every passion which is foul and unnatural, theft, sacrilege, robbery, murder, every kind of physical luxury, and gratification of the whims of the flesh, especially when the body is in good health, consulting oracles, casting spells, watching for omens and portents, self-adornment, ostentation, foolish display, use of cosmetics, painting the face, wasting time, daydreaming, trickery, and passion misuse of the pleasures of this world, and a life of bodily ease, which by coursing the intellect makes it cloddish and brute-like, and never lets it raise itself towards God and the practice of the virtues. The roots of primary causes of all these passions are love of sensual pleasure, love of praise, and love of material wealth. Every evil has its origin in these. As Mark, wisest of the ascetics, says, man cannot commit a single sin unless the three powerful giants, forgetfulness, laziness, and ignorance, first overpower him and enslave him. And these giants are the offspring of sensual pleasure, luxury, love of men's esteem, and distraction. The primary cause and vile mother of them all is self-love, which is a senseless love of one's body, an impassioned attachment to it, a dispersed and dissipated intellect given to frivolous talk and foul language, produces many vices and sins. Laughter and loose, immodest speech also lead to sin. Moreover, impassioned love of sensual pleasure takes a great variety of forms. For when the soul slackens its vigilance and is no longer strengthened by the fear of God, then it ceases to apply itself in its love for Christ to the practice of the virtues. The pleasures which deceive it are many. For countless pleasures surge to and fro, attracting the eyes of the soul. Pleasures of the body, of material things, of overindulgence, of praise, laziness, anger, of power, avarice, and greed. These pleasures have a glittering and attractive appearance, which, though deceptive, readily seduces those who do not have any great love for virtue, and are not willing to endure hardship for its sake. Every attachment to material things produces pleasure and delight in the man subject to such attachment, thus showing how useless and harmful is the soul's desiring aspect when governed by passion. For, when the man subject to this aspect of the soul is deprived of what he is wanting, he is overcome by wrath, anger, resentment, and rancor. And if through such senseless attachment some small habit gains the upper hand, the man to whom this happens is imperceptibly and irremediably held fast by the pleasure hidden in the attachment until he breaks free of it.